One single injection unlocks your DNA and will release another version of yourself.
The Substance has been one of the most talked about films of 2024, and considering Demi Moore recently won a much-deserved Golden Globe for her brave and brutal performance, I felt compelled to share my thoughts on the film after just recently watching it. Directed by Farley Fargeet, The Substance is a body horror film that delves into themes of aging, identity, and the relentless pursuit of youth within the entertainment industry. Moore plays Elizabeth Sparkle, an aging celebrity desperate to keep her job, so she uses a mysterious elixir, the Substance, to create a younger version of herself, Sood, played by Margaret Qualley, who also plays the shit out of this role and was nominated for a Globe. She didn't win, but she was also really awesome. The transformation, however, comes with unforeseen and grotesque consequences. This is only Fargeet's second film, her first being 2017's Revenge, and it's an impressive sophomore effort. But in the end, all it really succeeded in doing for me was several audible WTFs, and left me wondering what was Fargeet's ultimate goal here: to send a message or to be shocking for the sake of being shocking. To me, it feels like the latter. And no way am I saying this is a bad film. It's got lots of well-deserved accolades, and ageism is an important message in Hollywood and in life in general, but the film doesn't do anything new or original in expressing said message. The entire film is derivative of far more superior films. Before you protest and call me an unwoke, woman-hating garbage monster, let's take a deeper dive into what I'm rambling about. Fargeet employs an overly familiar visual language that repeatedly slams you over the head with the message of the film. Ageism is a real problem in Hollywood, but I wonder if she really thinks she's that clever with her overused homages, classics like The Fly, The Shining, The Thing, Reanimator, and a whole lot more. To me, an homage should be just that, a subtle nod to the films that inspired it. But there is nothing subtle about this film at all. These are not homages. These are blatant rips from the aforementioned masterpieces, right down to the exact camera angles, creature, and set design. It could be the fact that I've seen The Fly and The Thing a million times, but it was distracting to my ADHD brain. There isn't one original shot in the entire 2-hour and 20-minute film. But as the saying goes, if you're going to steal, steal from the best. The film utilizes sharp contrast to reflect the dichotomy between Elizabeth's reality and her desires. Her blindingly bright yellow coat symbolizes her lingering desire for attention and glamour, the vivid reds representing the fragmentation a person inflicts upon themselves in the pursuit of perfection. The fisheye close-ups of Dennis Quaid's wrinkled, smiling, oily face, stuffing shrimp into his mouth, represented the face of men, who are all disgusting pigs according to this film. But that does fit into the narrow narrative. But does a film about empowering women really need to go for such a low-hanging fruit to make their point? I don't disagree that men are pigs. I am one myself. A man, not a pig. The message is clear, but it went a little overboard. Speaking of going overboard, the film does not shy away from the graphic depictions of Elizabeth's transformation. The excellent use of prosthetic makeup and practical effects vividly portray the physical toll of her metamorphosis, with scenes that include close-up needle punctures, torn out teeth, body parts falling off, culminating in a blood-soaked finale. But like the rest of the film, there's nothing subtle about any of it. By the third act, the film devolves into a B-movie level of ridiculousness, with a fully mutated Elizabeth Sue monster soaking an audience with barrels of blood spraying from her severed arm. One perfect example of boring from the greats that kept popping into my brain was the comparisons to the king of body horror, David Cronenberg's magnum opus, The Fly. Not a movie that I really love personally. From the grotesque metamorphosis involving ears and fingernails falling off, to the literal caterpillar to butterfly scene of a new body emerging from the shell of its former self, the similarities are too apparent to ignore. Even the scene where Sue peels off her fingernail is framed the exact same way, and is just as gross. The cinematography was so deliberately off kilter and it was skewed constantly, but it was so obvious. The whole skewing of the world. It was just so constantly in your face all the time. I've seen it a gazillion times. Why could you not try to do something slightly different? But with all these homages, the one connection to Kubrick's classic The Shining specifically was lost on me and felt very forced. Thematically, there are two completely different films. The long red hallway is a constant image. Moore's character and Qualley's character walking up and down it, showing their transitioning. But again, it wasn't original, but also with the almost exact replica of the famous carpet design from the movie. But why? This felt very out of place to me, and just another example of Farjeet shoehorning imagery into the film just because she wants to. It was more about having it there rather than serving the story. Story is everything. Everything is story, is my personal screenwriting mantra. If it doesn't serve the story, then take it out. Farjeet showed zero restraint, made glaringly apparent with the almost 2.5-hour runtime. These references ultimately serve to situate the substance within an overly broad horror tradition while contributing to its unique aesthetic. The multiple references to other films only added to what is my main issue with the film. Tonally, it is all over the place. The last act is so drastically different and becomes so downright bizarre, subtracted from the rest of the film. The film closes on the image of Elizabeth's face attached to her last piece of living skin that slithered over to her star on the Walk of Fame, staring up at the sun as she dies, smiling. Subtle Coralie, real subtle. Though opening and closing images is a part of filmmaking, the film opened on Elizabeth's Walk of Fame star, which started fading and cracking, which again, not subtle at all. And then the film ended on her on top of that exact star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. For the substance, it has been lauded for its feminist perspective, particularly in its exploration of societal pressures on women's bodies and the exception of youth, and the obsession with youth in Hollywood. Critics have noted the film's commentary on self-destruction and unachievable standards perpetuated by social constructs. The film's deliberately slow pacing and unnecessarily long sequences reflect its thematic concerns, overemphasizing the excesses and artificiality of the entertainment industry. The acting is the highlight of the entire film for me, and like Moore, Margaret Qualley is fantastically brilliant as the younger Elizabeth, Sue. Why her name wasn't just Elizabeth, I'm not sure, but they gave her equally brutal transformation in her desperately escalating pursuit of staying young, results in her resorting to horrific measures to remain the alive version, as the main crux of the substance is that each version of Elizabeth can only exist for 7 days at a time, and then they basically start to fall apart. Her performance perfectly mirrors the journey of Moore, with the inevitable overlap of the two worlds colliding in the insanely bloody final act. By the end of the film, Moore's character has completely devolved into a wretched witch-like character that also reminds me a lot of a character from Legend. Meg Mucklebone did remind me a lot of that character from Legend. She once again blatantly stole a design from a far superior film. Moore definitely deserves all the praise and the very recent Golden Globe win. This just might be the best performance of a career, and after barely being in the limelight for the last 20 years. But she was definitely due for a comeback, and I hope she continues to win awards for her brave and brutal performance. Hopefully we'll see some love from the Academy with the fast approaching Oscars. The substance employs striking imagery and a visceral visual style to explore themes related to aging, identity, and social expectations. Through its unsubtle, deliberate use of color, set design, and body horror elements, the film offers a compelling critique of the entertainment industry's fixation on youth and beauty. It's just a shame Coralie Farjeet didn't take a more original approach instead of piggybacking off her inspirations that executed it far more masterfully. All that being said, I respect her bold approach to filmmaking and look forward to see what she'll do next. Final rating, 6 out of 10. Let me know below what you think of the film. Do you agree or disagree with what I'm saying? Do you think I'm crazy? Do you think I'm completely right? I'd love to hear your thoughts. But always don't forget, people, to keep writing.